All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I want to go ahead and get started. First off, welcome to the Pre-Market Live. It is Wednesday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Today we have a big day on the slate, guys. We have, obviously, we have been culminating now for about a week into this FOMC meeting. We are expecting a rate hike of 50 basis points, guys. The Fed is expected to raise interest rates today. This is a big deal for the market. This would be the first time we've seen a 50 BPS hike in a very long time. And therefore, obviously, this is going to have an effect on how our market moves today. Now, the big decision that we are awaiting is, do we see the 50 BPS or do we possibly see a 75 or more, right? That's the big thing. Could we see less? Could we see a 25? I think that's unlikely. I believe Fed Fund futures right now currently have the probability of a 50 basis point hike or higher. Last time I checked, I believe it's over 90%. So I definitely think that we will have an interesting market day on our hands. Remember, the action prior to the FOMC meeting is likely going to be very indecisive. No true theme or direction on price action. However, I do think there may be a couple of interesting opportunities that kind of have arisen this morning. Last night, my plan was to, likely just kind of step away after open this morning because of the fact that I think that we're going to have a lot of indecision leading up to the FOMC at 2 p.m. But now we also have Biden scheduled to speak at 1:30. So we do have a lot going on later in the day. However, I think that WTI crude is now at 107, so oil is up big, almost 4%. And therefore, we're seeing a big move up in a lot of the oil and energy stocks, which had good earnings yesterday, and now are obviously looking to continue higher here. And so I think there may be a couple of opportunities. However, I will say this: any trade that I do take, and I'm only going to trade probably the first 30 to 45 minutes, and then I will be stepping away for 3-4 hours just to kind of avoid that midday lunch action until FOMC. Will be very small in size. I'm going to size down on anything I do take. If I do take a trade, it's going to be very small in size, and I'm only considering a couple of opportunities. So today is all about really, yesterday I mentioned, hey, we might see some chop. I still over traded the chop. To me, I think that I could do a lot better. So that's my goal for today, is to really improve upon that and then be ready to take advantage of the post FOMC movement. After FOMC, the big thing here is, guys, if we do see the 50 basis point hike, I think we've, for the majority, priced that in, right? And I think that's kind of the common theme conception, right, across the entire market. And that's the action that we saw the last time we saw FOMC meeting conclude, right? We saw this big rip up in SPY. As you guys can see, we went all the way up to 462, which was a major rip to the upside. I'm not saying we're going to see a move like that again, but I think we could possibly test this 430 area on SPY over the next couple of days. A lot of people are asking about Airbnb. Guys, my plan is to hold the Airbnb contract. I only have one on the 10K challenge. I'm going to keep that until I'm going to see how the market reacts after FOMC. At this point, they will have some value, but likely not a ton. For me, I'd rather wait and see. I think the earnings was fantastic. I think it has a good chance to be a very strong name if we see no Fed surprise, right? So if we do just see that 50 basis point hike, I think Airbnb could be a name that gets a $8 to $10 move from where it is right now, which might result in those contracts being a little bit more to the upside. So for me, I was willing to take the risk. I sized for it to go to zero, so my plan is to just kind of keep it. I'd rather keep it now than be like, oh, I should have held it. Even it's such a small size, it's not going to really affect how I'm trading. So that's my plan on Airbnb. Earnings was great. So does the hike mean it goes up? So the hike that we're talking about is for interest rates. That's why you've seen the 10-year yield moving up. Excuse me. So if we see that priced in hike of the 50 basis points, more than likely the market will see an upside move after. The market is set up for a very nice upside move. However, in this market, you can't trust or anticipate too much. That's when you get into trouble. So the first thing I do want to kind of talk about is going to be, in general, SPY. Obviously, guys, we have demonstrated a lot of support in this 410 to 416 area. Really, guys, my main focus is going to be watching to see if SPY can hold this 414 area. 410 is our previous 52-week or most recent low, right? But that was the invasion day. We saw that 409.37 area. So that 410 zone is a very strong area of support. We have yet to have a daily candle close below that level. We broke it momentarily on Monday, but we rebounded really quickly and saw that big wick to the upside. Yesterday, we had a pretty nice day of consolidation. So today we are primed for a move higher if FOMC goes as planned. If it doesn't, obviously that can result in a downside move. But the chart to me is suggesting that we are going to see an upside move just based upon, logically you would think, okay, well, we held that support level. Now we've consolidated in 416 and we're ready to make a move higher. We'll see if that happens, right? There's no point in putting too many eggs in any basket or trying to anticipate too much. But for example, I took the Rivian swing. I think that should see a nice move as long as FOMC doesn't surprise us. But again, going to be sizing small on things just because the unknown is absolutely there. Same story for QQQ. If you saw the watch list, guys, QQQ 317 or 316.8 is a big area of support. If we look at the hourly, guys, as you can see in this 316.6, 316.8 area, we have a lot of support on QQQ. And I'll be watching for that to hold today up until FOMC. If we can hold this area, I think that bodes well for post-meeting. You never know which way the algos are going to take things, but for me, I'm going to definitely be watching a possible move here off of this level as we get closer to FOMC. If we break below this 316 area, I put on the watch list for a downside trigger would be 316.10, confirmation below. Remember, guys, FOMC day, you want to wait for extended confirmation, right, on those further time frames. Look at the 15-minute, right? Don't just solely rely on the 5-minute. We want to rely on some of those longer time frames to let us know where the action is going to be, right? So watching that. Other things that I am going to be watching today, as I mentioned, oil is up. Oxy is up 2.4%, OXY, Occidental Petroleum. This is kind of a name that I use. It's a good barometer. This is definitely looking like it wants its next leg higher. Obviously, 63, big area of resistance. This is the one that Warren Buffett has kind of been in. Tends to see a lot of volume off open. I don't trade it that often, and I'm not likely going to trade it today as it's already made a 2.3% move in pre-market. However, WTI crude is up, and so this one should definitely be on watch for a move off of this 60.48 level. If we dip to that level off open, possibly even the 60.30 level, that would be a watch for me on calls. I'm probably, again, not going to play it, but if you are looking for the oil sector, I like Oxy, OXY off of this 60.33 level. If we get a red candle off open, that can be a nice trader. It tends to move a lot in the first 30 minutes, so just be aware of that. However, there are going to be a couple names within oil that I am watching. And remember, guys, we do know when oil rips, tech slips. That's kind of been the motto this year with the way energy is acted. So Devon Energy is a good one to keep an eye on. Reported really good earnings yesterday. They have a super high dividend yield, so DVN is the ticker symbol there. If you look at the daily, massive daily candle, I'd be watching this one on that 65.45 break. You have to go all the way out, I believe, on the weekly or monthly to see that next level. I was looking at this one last night. But over that 65 level, decent chance this goes up to 72 relatively soon. It's got a lot of room up on the monthly chart as well. You look at that oil right up to this 127 area in 2007, right before 2008, and that's when we came crashing down. So I'm sure we'll see kind of a bigger move up in this at some point soon. Obviously had a big move yesterday, so can be a little bit overextended. If we look at that hourly, RSI here is definitely going to be elevated, 78 RSI. So just need to keep that on watch, guys. These are a little bit overextended on the shorter time frames. Doesn't mean they can't run more, but even with oil being up, right, obviously RSIs are pretty hot there. One name I will be watching closely, and this is one that originally I wasn't planning on taking any trades today, but CCJ is going to be one that I watch. Natural gas prices are up. Oil prices are up, and uranium tends to run with these stocks. Now, this does have earnings tomorrow, so you need to be cautious of that. However, I think that this could see a relatively nice move. The premiums are a little jacked because of earnings, but I think that this could be a nice trader if oil names do see continuation, right? They are a little bit overextended, so you need to think about that. However, I think that this can be a nice trade opportunity. Looks like it's a logical spot to bounce off of this 25-ish level, right? That was a big prior resistance. So turning this area into support again is a good sign for a move to this 27 level. I think that's a pretty logical target. I like this one a lot today. We'll see how the volume is. The liquidity has not been great in this market, guys. So even in the past, if you had taken a trade because something worked with a theme, that might be different now because we just don't have the same liquidity in the market, right? So that's very important to understand. But CCJ is definitely going to be on watch for me this daily. Definitely looks ready for a move back to 27. I'm going to keep a really close watch on this one today, guys. Again, support in that 25.5 range. We'll be looking towards that 25.3 to 25.5 range as support for possible adds. I'm going to be watching this one closely. Again, I think that if oil sees continuation, and that's a big if, then this can definitely see a nice move to the upside. And I think it should be a relatively uncrowded trade also. I'm familiar with it, so I do like the opportunity in CCJ. Now, transitioning a little bit. Excuse me, guys. As far as like IV flushes go, AMD still up 7% pre-market. They had a fantastic quarter here on AMD, guys. I really can't underestimate that enough. They had a fantastic quarter here for AMD. However, the big thing here on AMD, right, is it doesn't really seem to matter, right? And I know that sounds weird, but in tech right now, when you have rising interest rates, it's very hard to fight rising interest rates, right? That's why the tape is not as liquid. That's why the tape is not as strong. I'm not saying this can't see a move, and this will definitely be one to watch if the market sees a big move up off of FOMC. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this get shoved at open. Major resistance at this 98.75 area, guys. Really, really big resistance here. However, if we see a break over 98.75, the chip sector can definitely see a move up. I would personally be playing NVIDIA off of this. I mentioned it, but if this sees a break over 98.75, reasonable to assume we'll see a pretty nice move up in NVIDIA. So I put that on the watch list. If you missed that, I put my plan and watch list on Twitter, and you guys can go and read the full plan. It's also in the Discord under Man's Alerts. So definitely going to be watching the chip names today. Two of my biggest focuses, should we see tech make a nice move up? Okay, Netflix is going to be number one, guys. And if you remember, right, and maybe some of you were in the Patreon, some of you were not, the last time that we had FOMC and we saw Facebook, right, at this kind of daily setup in March, Facebook was that name. If you remember, we were in right before the run started on Facebook and ended up, I think, taking over 2,000% on calls. I'm not saying we're going to see the same type of market reaction or price action, but Netflix feels a lot like that setup to me right now. The daily is very, very close to being identical to how Facebook looked when this happened. We need to wait for the liquidity to come back in full here, but this is probably one of the best possible long side setups that I see. I'm not saying it's going to work out, but if this breaks over 205, I really think that we could see a move possibly into this 215 to 230 range. I wouldn't be surprised to see a move to 226 if we can break over 205. This was obviously a big support loss at this 205 area. It likes to go to 215, 220 over that level. So again, guys, I'm going to be watching Netflix because this consolidation at these levels in the 190 range is very bullish. We need to wait for confirmation. I can't say that enough. I'm not saying if you have a larger account, it's not a bad idea to have a starter. I think that that's a great idea, but it's showing relative strength the last few days, and I really do think that this move is coming soon. Today seems like kind of the perfect time as long as we don't see any Fed surprise. This is going to be my top watch later in the day, and hence why I don't want to force things in the morning. I think that this has a really nice opportunity to be a great trader today. Facebook is the other one, ticker symbol FB. Of course, massive relative strength here. I have a position in some 240 calls in the main account that I think can see a nice move the rest of the week as long as FOMC doesn't surprise us today. But in the challenge account, I will be watching for a break of that yesterday's high in that 214.70 area. I really think that if we can get through that 215 level, we should see 226 here relatively quick. If you want to play this and maybe try to get some starters beforehand, I would maybe recommend next week calls. But again, for me, what I'm going to be looking for is to play this after the FOMC meeting has concluded and we have our direction within the market. I'm not going to try to be a hero and be early, even though that's how things used to work, right? You can't be like that every time. And in this market, again, it's hard to really anticipate too much. You more need to react to things rather than trying to be early. It's a tough market to be early, right? So for me, guys, really want to wait for some confirmation over yesterday's high, but I do like this one as long as we can maintain that relative strength we've been seeing. Great daily volume here relative to a lot of other things, right? We've seen a lot of buying volume over the past few days, and as we know, volume comes before price, right? So if you look, this is that similar daily setup I was talking about to Netflix in March, and right now, I think that we have a pretty good shot to at least test that 238 level, which we tested in early April. So definitely on watch for me post FOMC, guys. High of the day from yesterday, trigger for calls to the upside. Those are going to be my main watches for today. Other name that I am going to keep on watch just off of open here would be Uber. If we can hold this 27.74 area, that's a pretty big daily support. A reclaim of 28.22 would be big. So I'm going to be watching for a possible IV flush here. Could possibly play some calls. They did have a really nice revenue increase. They also did have their margins improve as well on mobile, whatever they call it, their sector-wise. So on their, I believe on the vast majority of their business, right? They improved their margins 23% quarter over quarter. So, and obviously revenue is a big increase as well. So I really do like the Uber possibility off of that 27.70 level. If they can reclaim that off open, definitely on watch. Small size here on Uber. Again, small size on everything prior to FOMC, like 1/4 of what I would normally size in is what I'm going to be sizing on anything. If I do take a trade the first 30 minutes or so, very, very small size. So that is my plan. Very straightforward. Again, top watches off open. I'm going to be watching the oil names as well as Uber. We'll be watching indices some, and then CCJ is definitely a top pick for me. Sleeper name that I think can be a really nice trader. So remember, oil rips, tech can slip a little bit. We may see some of that off open. Just keep that in mind. But definitely going to be watching here off open. Should be an interesting day. My plan, again, off of open, scan for those names that are displaying relative strength. If there's an A-plus opportunity on Uber or CCJ, I will take it, but with small size. And that is my plan for the day. It's FOMC day, big day, and we're going to have a ton of opportunities after FOMC, right? In one direction or the other, we're going to have a lot of opportunities. So my advice is protect your capital. Don't try to force things. Wait, and the opportunities will be there. Save your bullets, save your ammo, because it's going to be an awesome opportunity post FOMC. So I'll see you guys on the Discord voice here in about 5 minutes, and I'm going to kind of give a quick spiel of the same thing I just went through, and then we will get after it. Very excited to take on the day. I'm going to be away from the desk for probably like 3-4 hours today. I'm going to take care of a couple like life things that I need to do. It's a good time on FOMC day, kind of avoid that lunch chop up to Biden and Powell. So I'll see you guys on the Discord live in about 5 minutes.